What's up, everybody? Welcome to Are You Down with LPT, the podcast where agents like you share their stories, experiences, and insights to help each other level up and thrive. In every episode, we're diving deep into the real-life challenges, wins, and lessons from the front lines. Whether you're a seasoned pro or just getting started, this is the place to connect, learn, and grow together. So, if you're ready to get down with LPT and take your game to the next level, let's jump in. Welcome back to Are You Down with LPT? I'm here today with Alysa King, who is our marketing director here at Legacy. And how you doing today, Alysa?
Good. How are you?
Good. I know I sense a lot of excitement to talk about this. So we are talking about marketing, and specifically just marketing around your listings. The market is different, and now more than probably we've had to worry about the last few years. You go back a few years, 3 or 4 years, we list houses and it was more like, hey, I sold this house in one day. And, we had 5 offers on this house. And that was probably the extent of the marketing that we really had to do. Today, a little more needed because houses are sitting, inventory's up, days on the market is up. The actual number of houses that don't sell is up. And so we as agents really need to determine, our value proposition and dial in our marketing a little bit. So I want to talk about that. We'll kind of go through the stages, if you don't mind. Start kind of with the pre-listing marketing. So we think about, okay, we're bringing a new listing to the market. What's maybe some of the best things that we can do as we think about doing that?
Yeah, I think most people, most agents think that it's just about once it's live, I'm going to start posting. But it's really starting before it's live, kind of formulating a plan of how you're going to market this listing. And with that, people are curious. So when you post something, whether it's a sneak peek or a little teaser about a listing, that's going to build anticipation, which is really important because then people are going to be following along to when you actually list the property, and they get to find out all the cool details and features of that property. So definitely teasing, you can use stories for that, or you can make it an actual post. Say something like, oh, something exciting is coming to Ankeny or Bondurant or wherever your listing is. And then also beyond social media, I would say engaging with your SOI. Whether this is texting clients are interested in that area, calling them, or sending out a email saying, I have something coming up in your area. Do you know anyone looking, or are you looking? Because this helps, build traffic before the listing even goes live.
Yeah, I think we have a ton of value as real estate agents. I think the perception from, the consumer out there is the best value we can give is a home and inventory, and you just mentioned it, but creating ways to make sure that we're putting that new inventory, in front of the people we know, whether through social media, email campaign, whatever it might be. The white box is another thing I think of. It does take 48, 72 hours to get here. You do need that picture. I like to schedule pictures, get them 3 days, if not more ahead of time, because then you've got that. You can start that process. You even mentioned, but we can tease different things. I think of, I showed a picture of, one of the things we do is we bring a stager on every listing that I think needs it. If I walk through and I'm like, okay, this home needs a little help with staging, that's where I'm going to call my stager. She does a consultation with them, but I've done a video and picture, and I think that's a great tease, right? And same thing with the photography or videography that we might be doing, to have that ready to go ahead of time. And there's a lot we can do to prep, and it's amazing opportunity just to tease a new listing.
Yeah, definitely. And once you get started early, especially with those photos, you can start to plan everything out. So it's not like once it goes live, you're kind of scrambling for ideas. It gives you time to plan everything out, prepare. And I do think that white box is great, especially to get beforehand, because you can take it over to the client's house and say, here's what I have, here's how I'm prepared. Every agent in their listing presentation should be sharing how they're going to market this listing. And it's beyond just posting just listed and just sold. And if you're saying in your listing presentation you're going to do all these things, you need to do them all.
Yeah.
So it's kind of starting with that white box, starting with teasing the property. And it's also important to remember every property is different. So maybe you don't need to do all these things for a lower end property. Maybe it's just some of the higher end properties. Like you were saying with the staging, kind of.
Yeah.
Not every property is going to need it. Not every property is going to need the big, blown out marketing plan. But it definitely, every property needs a marketing plan.
I feel like if you do it right, then yes, you create a marketing plan around the listing, but you really help market yourself in that, right? I mean,
Yeah,
this is
definitely.
to me, new listings is one of the best times when I can put a marketing plan together, not only for the house, but for me. And there's so many touch points.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's kind of preparation of it. Now we think about launching the listing. So we know that early listing time is your best activity. Most eyeballs on. I know if it hits Zillow, most saves, most views is going to be within those first 24 to 48 hours. I want to capitalize, open house, all of that stuff. What are some other things we can do? Listing is now officially on the MLS and live. What do we want to do?
I think you should treat, when your listing goes live, kind of like it's a launch week for a business or a company or a big event. You need to have that plan. It's not just one post. It's having a plan of, okay, maybe I'm going to do a social media post and then I'm going to do a story, and just plan out maybe a week's worth or a few weeks worth of content for this one listing. There are some social media templates that you can use. I would say video is always king. It's always going to win over this market nowadays. So it doesn't have to be this big, long, drawn-out video. It doesn't have to be something that you pay hundreds of dollars for. It's just something where you go in, get a few clips, or it could be one whole, not clips, but just one shot of the home. But just walking through it, talk about what you love, talk about the highlights of the property. And again, you're marketing the listing, but you're also marketing yourself. So you need to kind of prove to other clients this is how you're going to make their listing stand out.
Yeah, that's good. It goes back to you're not only marketing the house, you're marketing yourself, right? And I think awesome opportunity to do that. I think other things you can do, these are back to the basics, but broker open and a chance to get it in front of eyeballs. And I think our company does that fairly well. If I'm targeting listing, I'm going to probably target a Thursday. Probably going to do pictures, video early in the week, give that turnaround time so I've got it by midweek. Thursday go live, do a broker open, and then schedule an open house for that weekend. Again, your early list time is always your best activity, and so you really want to take advantage of that. We were doing a market update this morning with Jim and Tracy, and one of the things we mentioned is, 40% of our listings have sold. In May, it was 4 days or less. And in June, it was 8.5 days. But basically a week or less. Almost half our listings sell a week or less. So I don't have a lot of time to market it. And if I do it right, and I price it right, would be a big part of that too. Like, I would hope to sell in a week. But then we get into the fact that 60%, those are the ones that are a little more stagnant. They're sitting on the market. They become a little bit of a stale listing, when you get past 2-3 weeks and a month or later. And that's becoming more normal. And I think that's what's tough for our agents is they've not always experienced that. And yet it's still a great opportunity. When you think about building your brand and marketing yourself and your listing, I think sometimes the longer it sits around gives you more opportunity. So what are some things that we could do for a listing that's been on for a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. Like you said, it's honestly the perfect time to even hit it harder with the marketing when it's been kind of sitting. I think a lot of times agents will post just listed and then kind of forget about it, and they're not sure where to go from there, especially when it's been sitting on the market for so long. But doing weekly updates, your seller's going to want to hear from you. They're going to want to hear what you're doing to market their listing. So ensuring that whether you're posting it out every week, you can feature different parts of the property, sending emails out to your SOI, letting them know this is still on the market. This is a great opportunity. Maybe you do some print marketing, some postcards, some door hangers. You can do social media ads. And it's not like you have to spend a lot of money to get this listing out there on social media. You can pay $50 for a week or so.
I like that. I'll let you kind of keep going in a second. But when I think of weekly updates, I think this is something that, at the core we used to do. And then the market got really hot and there wasn't much of a need for it. But now I think of, you mentioned a weekly email. I think recapping what you've done, from a marketing standpoint, like, hey, here's an ad we ran, or, here's what the number of saves or views we've had in Zillow this week or last 30 days. And then, hey, we didn't open, here's the feedback. Or if I'm getting nothing, it might be, okay, we're priced at 600 here. How many homes in the last week or 2 weeks have sold in this price point? And I think it paints a picture, because if there's been a lot of activity and our home didn't get much traffic, then I do think we got a marketing problem and we need to adjust and change some things. If I look back and there's been no sales within my criteria, it might tell me, hey, market's slow.
Yeah.
I'm not just trying to push it on the market, and we certainly want to do things, but I think it helps, educate your seller on, okay, here's what it is, here's what the market looks like, and maybe we need to adjust pricing, whatever it might be. So I'm talking, and I've had this conversation much more recently with sellers like, okay, what are you doing? And this is where I'm like, okay, what do I need to do? House isn't selling, sitting. Any other thoughts or tips that some things we should be doing or could be doing, that maybe even thinking outside the box on some things?
You could show the story behind the home. I know there's some things you can and can't do within that kind of content, but just kind of showcasing different parts of the house. Maybe the sellers love to host, and you can talk about how perfect the home is for hosting different family members and stuff. And maybe they have a nice backyard with great landscaping, and the sellers worked really hard to get that looking good. You can showcase that aspect of it. And then, driving open house traffic creatively, so you could run giveaways or entice people to come to your open houses. And even within that, not just posting it on social media, but texting your clients, emailing them and saying, hey, I'm having an open house, because a lot of times people are going online to find the open houses, but they don't always see yours if it's not popping up. So finding different ways to inform people about your open houses. And then just kind of using local content and drawing people in that way is always a good idea. You'll want to provide your sellers with factual information and stats, so that way they can see the value within what you're doing in marketing. And it's not just kind of like, oh, I'm throwing up this social media post here. Here's a little photo of it. Here's what I did. You want to provide those stats so they can see that you're actually trying and making a difference.
I like that. I think seeing the numbers behind it's important. And as agents, there's the marketing stats, social media stats. But we talk about reverse prospecting. We'll jump on the MLS and we can see who's got it saved, and letting them know, hey, we did a price drop, or we're doing an open house, and just a way, I think, to take that extra step. Zillow's a big one for us. It's a big one for us because I think clients are there. They're looking, they're following their house. They got their house saved. And I remember it was day 31 on the market, and one of my sellers called me in a panic. Like, we lost like 30 saves. Well, Zillow's only going to show you the last 30 days. And so day one, we had obviously had like 30 saves. And, well, those dropped off. So I had a good conversation with her about it. And this was a client that, hey, they're willing to do what it takes. And so we've tried a few different things. But from a strategic standpoint, when we're thinking about listings sitting around, price obviously is the number one reason a house doesn't sell or sells. And so getting that price right, and then doing kind of a almost marketing campaign around that new price.
Yep.
So if I'm going to drop a price, same thing as new listing. Hey, let's drop it Wednesday or Thursday. Let's do an open house Sunday. One thing we've done on some stagnant listings recently is we did Zillow Showcase. And we did one on Northwest Reinhardt and Ankeny. It's a perfect example to me. We're been on the market a while. And they're like, okay, what else are you going to do marketing? And I'm like, well, let's try Zillow Showcase. And what Zillow does, it's going to push it for a week. They're going to bring it to the top of the searches and all that good stuff. But I said, if we're going to do this, and this, costs about $300 to do, if we're going to do this, then I think we need to drop the price. Let's rearrange a few things that we haven't. Let's change the photos a little bit. And so that's what we did. And we did the Zillow Showcase on it. We dropped it 10,000, and we scheduled an open house. And the previous 2 or 3 open houses didn't have anybody through. 4 groups come through the open, been stagnant on listings, had 5 showings within that week. And Zillow, that showcase is going to bump it for about a week. But just another avenue that I think could help. Like, as a listing sitting, my seller's getting nervous.
Yeah, definitely.
To do something.
And refreshing the listing is always good. Like you said, rearranging the photos, changing the description up a little bit, because that's going to boost it on the MLS too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and you talk about boosting it. You think of a price change on Zillow or within the MLS. If I got that saved, it's going to ping me again.
Yep.
And that's where if I refresh it, do an open house, then drop the price, I would do it in that order, because when I drop that price, it's going to trigger those same people that have been looking at it, like new angle, new pictures, new description of it. So I think those are good things. Any bonus strategies or maybe underused tactics that we could use when we're thinking about, listings that have been sitting a little bit and some marketing to do?
I know everyone's going to hate this, but reels and video will always do better than photos. I say that time and time again. Again, it doesn't have to be a minute-long video. It can be a 15-second long video, a 30-second long video, even a 10-second long video with some music. People are going to engage with that far more. They're going to stop. They're going to watch it. I would say if you have the marketing budget to do this, targeted ads or geo-fencing. So with targeted ads, you can push it out to a certain area, maybe the Des Moines area, and you pay however much you want. It could be as low as $30, $20, and you set it for a certain amount of time, and that's going to boost on everyone's social media. They're going to see the listing over and over. They're going to click on it, and you're going to get that lead. Geo-fencing is the same way. If you're kind of targeting a certain neighborhood with geo-fencing, maybe a certain zip code, anytime someone goes into that zip code or goes into that neighborhood, it's going to register on their phone, and they're going to get your ads as well. So if you have the marketing budget for that, I think that's always a smart idea. Again, it's probably not for every listing, but if you have one that's been on for a while, it's definitely worth a try. And then another important step in your marketing plan is your Google business profile. This is a free SEO boost for you. So you can post your listings on there, and it allows you to also put a link to the listing. So if someone's searching for a realtor, maybe they come across your Google business profile, they're kind of scoping you out, seeing what you're about. They can scroll down there, see that listing, click on it, and it'll help, boost your visibility on Google business. Yeah. So I definitely would try that.
Really good stuff. I think it's easy to sit back and do nothing, especially when we've got nothing to say or no good news for our clients. But I think the true professionals are going to stand out. I think this is a market, as it's slowed down, that we need to become true professionals. I think having a marketing plan is one of the most important things we can do around our listings, and obviously is going to be a huge boost to our business. So, Alysa, this is really good stuff. I think we need to do this more often. I know you'll be excited about that, but I'm a big believer that marketing is probably the biggest thing that we do as real estate agents, both to grow our business and to serve our clients. And so we want to keep talking about it. Thank you for the time today. And as always, this is Are You Down with LPT. Thanks for joining us. That's a wrap for today's episode of Are You Down with LPT? Thank you so much for tuning in. We hope you get some valuable takeaways to apply to your journey. New episodes drop every Friday, so make sure to subscribe so you never miss out. And hey, if you have your own story you'd like to share or questions you'd like to dive into, hit us up. Until next time, stay down with LPT and keep leveling up. Catch you in the next one.